Renegade Talk Radio done right. From the left, it's Mike Malloy.
25 before the hour. This is the Malloy Show. All right, back to Susan in sunny Sequim, Washington.
Hi, Mike. Say, thanks for taking my call and keeping me on hold.
Sure.
The thing with Blue is not that what he says is so wrong. Your ethics advisor is right. But he was very condescending. And the problem is, we're not the people he should be riling against. We didn't put us here. We've been trying to fight these people, but we don't have money. We're just working blokes here trying to get the country right. In 2008, we worked our asses off. We campaigned. We got Democrats on the local level in and progressives, that what we thought were Democrats, what we thought were progressives. And they got to Washington. They sold out to big business. How can we compete with the billions of dollars that are pouring in that have bought our government? The Supreme Court sold out, as you pointed out earlier, to Blue way back when Bush came elected. Our Supreme Court is a paid and bought court, at least 5 of them, and that's all it takes.
Right.
I have no idea how to fight this thing. None of us do, and we're so frustrated. So then some cocky Aussie comes over here, jets in on his plane, and tells us we're stupid and not fighting and lazy and not working to get our government right, and oh boy, don't we look stupid. Well, you know what? That's going to piss some people off.
Sure. Of course it
and
is.
that's what that whole angst is about. He hit with his criticism just at the time when we're down the most.
Well, that's and I think that's the reason there's such a visceral reaction.
Right.
But I think you also will agree, Susan, that the so-called left in this country has disappeared. It's evaporated.
Oh, yes, it has.
There's just nothing there anymore putting up any kind of resistance. A. B, it doesn't have to be that way. There's still enough institutional memory in the in the justice, the peace and justice movement, to explain to the younger people how we got here and how we, on the so-called liberal left, allowed this to happen, and we did. I realize we've all been working, we've all been having children, or fighting for rights, whether it's for poor people or physically challenged people, or working in the anti-nuke movement, and the one thing we didn't do, we didn't raise our eyes up a bit. We did have our eyes to the ground and working on things that seemed to be very necessary, but we didn't look up and see that overarching everything was this move toward pure, simple fascism, to
corporate fascism,
gangster capitalism that has now got such a death grip on this country. So what I find offensive,
I watched it ooze in, Mike. I mean, I've been working for environmental causes for 40 years. I lived in Alaska for a long time. No jokes, please.
No.
And I watched when the oil patch came in and just bought the place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just totally took it over. And we fought, and we tried. But we were beating our heads against the wall.
Well, they
flooded our media, and they've given. They say, "Here, have an Xbox, have a Wii. Forget about this. Don't look at that man behind the curtain. Just play. Just keep going. Just ignore us."
Well, there's no equivalent on the left to the oil industry that has, of course, it took legislation to do it, but the oil industry did not fight to pay every single Alaskan citizen a piece of the action for turning their country over to the oil industry. And there is no equivalent on the left that can deal with that. We can't say to people, look, wake up, fight for your democracy. Oh, by the way, here's $4,000 a year for your efforts.
Well, actually, the permanent fund and the permanent fund dividend, and I'd love to sit down and talk with you about this sometime because I was very involved in it, it was actually a liberal agenda to keep the oil companies, to keep the state of Alaska from stealing the public money, because the oil belonged to the state.
Okay, a liberal, I think there's an example of the liberals in Alaska slicing a knife slowly across their own throats.
Yeah, in the end, that's what it turned out. But,
right. So,
but that's not what it started out to be, and I'd love to go in with you sometime, but not tonight, of course.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Susan, and what the people who are critical of Blue's statements. In fact, on a lot of the points that he brings up are points that you hear me say. The difference is, and I think this is true, is that there is kind of a gratuitous criticism rather than, this is what I was trying to get across to him. You're not here. You don't understand what's going on inside this country. You can fly over, you can land, you can visit with friends, but you don't really know the struggle that's going on here. And I think that's what a lot of people are finding offensive about what he's saying. So
right. He understands the vitriol on the right because they're so loud and vocal, but what he doesn't understand is the frustration and the hopelessness and the helplessness that those of us on the far left feel.
Yeah.
We feel like we're hitting our heads against the wall, and that people that we love are not understanding what's going on, are standing there listening to Rush Limbaugh like zombies.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, listen, thanks, Susan.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, we'll talk later. Thanks a lot. Take care. Well, at least he stimulates conversation. Right? Don is in Vancouver, British Columbia. Hey, Don.
Hey, Mike. I just want to rant. I just feel these people complaining about Blue are such wussies. And, I don't get why they complain about Blue, but they don't complain about you, or why they even listen to you for that matter.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I don't. As you stated, your message is pretty much what Blue states. I just don't get these. They think that we just speak peaceful to each other and sweet to each other. I don't get it. I don't get it why he doesn't have a say. In what not saying what goes on in America, but why his opinion isn't any more valid.
Well, there's a very essential, elemental reason. Let me ask you something. Are you part of a family, Don? Do you live with other people? Do you have a spouse, children, parents?
Partner.
What? Okay.
Partner.
All right. You have intimate relationships with family, correct? By intimate, I mean emotional. Close relationships with people in your family, whether it's your partner, your parents, your cousins, or whatever. It exists, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let's suppose that one of your family members turns out to be a real jackass. I mean, just I don't mean criminal acts, but just starts being just a prick. You know what I mean? Just doing stuff that is crappy. And the rest of the family is going, oh, my God, why doesn't he or she stop this? I mean, being a smart ass and maybe gets busted for petty theft or likes to smoke around the nieces and nephews or whatever, just a real jerk. And the other family members start talking about this guy or this woman and saying, I wish you would go away. Okay, so you have that problem inside your family. Now let's suppose you bring a new friend, not a family member, a friend into your circle. And your friend says, I hate to say this, but your sister there is a real creep. I mean, look at her behavior. She got busted for stealing a pair of gloves. She smokes around the kids. She's got a drink in her hand half the time. What a jerk. How do you guys deal with her? I think your first reaction, Don, would be to say, hey, what are you talking about? That's my sister, goddammit. You understand what I'm saying there?
No, I understand. I understand you, Mike.
And I think that's the visceral reaction that people have in this country when Blue calls. It's not that they so much disagree with the essential part of the criticism. I mean, I know I still have a lot of listeners who don't like my position on Obama, but still feel a little bit queasy about some of the stuff he does. But it's the outsider thing. That's all. But
see, when I hear that, Mike, it reminds me of the right wingers, and it reminds me. Of
course it does. If somebody were to step into your family and say your sister is a whore because she's doing all this and doing that, you'd probably punch him in the mouth. Even though you may think the same thing, you may talk to your partner. Why is she such a whore? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I listen to you because you don't sugarcoat things.
Well, I don't sugarcoat Blue either.
Yeah, and I guess I'm one of the few folks that appreciate that. Your stance and
all right.
Blue's
well,
opinion. So.
I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate you checking in, Don. All right.
Fair enough. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. We'll be right back.
We've got to rebuild America. Keep hope alive. We've got to rebuild America. Eyes on the prize. That dream we are building never dies. Now don't sit at home saying, what could I do? Remember
AM with IQ. And we are live overnight. Listen for Bill Press. Weekdays at 3 a.m. on Talk Radio 1230 KJFK.
only time's gonna